Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast, coming to you live on a Saturday. Instead of doing 9 a.m., we get to do noon, which is fantastic because of training camp. So we'll talk about some of our takeaways and latest news and notes from the 9th day of Chargers training camp. We're also going to preview the scrimmage that is happening tomorrow in terms of things that we're looking for, some clarity that we hope to happen. And then we'll also revisit some of our Saturday stocks in order to kind of measure up how players have done over the past week or so. So going to be a fun one. Excited to do it with my guys, Tyler and Alex. Tyler, we'll start with you, man. You were there today. How was the vibe and how are you doing today?
It was good. It was great. I wasn't sure if Chargers fans would even go back to the second week. Would they still be interested? Or have they seen it all? But, Monday, yesterday, today, it's been a packed house. So been great being there. It was a little hot today, but I managed. And every time I think it's a little bit hot, I think that Steven is somewhere 20 degrees hotter in Fresno.
Yeah, it actually rained yesterday. So
Wow.
today is a really nice day. I've lived in Fresno for about 4.5 years at this point. Yesterday was the first time in the summers that I've been here that it rained, like legitimately had to turn on my windshield wipers on my way to work kind of rain. So
Wow.
it's not supposed to be 100 plus today. It's only supposed to be a high of 92. So we're doing great up here. Alex, what's up, man? How are you doing today?
Doing good.
Nice. But yeah, I also thought that week 2 would be a little bit more low-key. I figured today would be kind of busy. Tomorrow I figured would be busy as well because it's the weekend. Are you eating Twix right now? Shout out Twix, man. My favorite candy bar as well. Welcome to sponsor the show anytime. But
Can
yeah,
save the
Chargers
food for the last 5 minutes of the show. We still have 57 minutes of training camp.
Hey, I'm just reacting to Tyler eating my favorite candy bar, man. It's all good. But yeah, I was expecting it to die down a little bit, yesterday, and it didn't, right? Like there was a ton of people out there again, so excited to see them. All right, we'll dive right into some news and notes. Again, for the 9th day of practice, we'll get some of Tyler's thoughts after being there in person. We will have some time potentially for questions at the end, but Tyler and I will definitely take some questions tomorrow after the scrimmage. So if we don't get to a question that you have in the chat today, we apologize. Just have a lot to talk about. So first and foremost, no change on Derwin James's situation. He is still going through contract negotiations. We get asked every single day what the holdup is and all that stuff. And listen, I wish I had Dave Malagueta on speed dial. He would tell me what was exactly going on here. But as far as we know, it's just the contract structure is kind of taking some time to hammer out. And again, this is to be expected when you're talking about a contract this size of this deal, a market setting kind of contract. And Tyler's pointed this out too. It's not as straightforward as somebody like Minkah Fitzpatrick, because Derwin has played a significant fewer amount of snaps throughout his career because of his injuries. So again, no change on Derwin. We'll continue to wait and see and monitor that, but stay away from criticizing him. This is not a holdout situation. This is not a Melvin Gordon situation. Derwin's still there, present at camp, and making a difference, even if he's not necessarily practicing with the team.
Yeah. Again, would love to get over this and move on with my life. But anyone who's criticizing him, thinking this is some sort of Melvin Gordon situation, it's clearly not. I'm not even sure why we're even still assuming or associating those two things. It'll get done. Yes, I wish it were sooner. I'm surprised it hasn't gotten done yet. But everything they've been saying and doing, we know there's a deal. They've proposed. Derwin said yes. He just wants to make sure he gets that flawless diamond. But they're going to get married. Okay, all's good.
They just haven't set a date yet, I guess.
Yeah, it didn't set the date.
Well, maybe they haven't set a date. I think it's more of like the prenuptials. You know, they're signing a prenup agreement right now in the stage of their marriage. So, yeah. Other than that, I think everything's okay. Very clearly on the Derwin front. I actually think that you've seen that even though Derwin hasn't been there, clearly, you know, his influence is still there at the walkthroughs and team meetings, and the coaches have said as much. Ronaldo Hill in his press conference yesterday pretty much has said he's still been a presence there. And then you see, you know, someone like Raheem Lane apparently have some flashes yesterday, and just a week and a half ago, Derwin was coaching him up, you know, just over on the side there. So you know, he's still having his positive influence over camp. And it's definitely not a Melvin Gordon situation. So I do think that the hold in is still really both productive for Derwin and the team. And when the deal gets done, it gets done.
Yeah, you know, you wrote about that for Volpe earlier this morning, and I couldn't agree more. There's getting a lot of young guys getting reps. Not the one that I was hoping. Unfortunately, Mark Webb out again. So we'll talk about all of that here in a second, I'm sure. But I don't think anybody is necessarily to blame here. Again, this is just the nature of the beast when you're talking about a long-term contract like this. They could be doing a 5-year contract, could be doing a 3-year contract, which has kind of become at least for the receiver market, the 3-year contract has become a bit of the norm. So, again, no one really is to blame here. You shouldn't make anyone your punching bag. I see that comment in the chat. This is just kind of, you know, this is what is happening. You know, Keenan Allen has his contract took a bit. Joey Bosa's got his contract done pretty quickly. Melvin Ingram had his contract, and his hold in was a few weeks as well. So, sometimes these contract negotiations take longer than others. I was pretty confident that this would be done quickly, and that hasn't been the case, but that doesn't necessarily mean somebody is to blame here.
Yeah, I mean, for reference, Keenan Allen, September 24th. We're in August 6th. Again, I would think it would be done sooner. I'm surprised it isn't, but we have a long way to go before this is any kind of problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he's there. He's coaching guys up. He's participating in walkthroughs. He's getting the mental reps. He's working out with the team. So he's just not on the field taking that injury risk, which I think is ultimately smart. So in terms of the injuries that happened before today, again, there was no practices for Mark Webb, for Trey McKitty, or Drew Tranquil. It looked like Cal Van Noy was going to practice. If I'm reading that correctly, he had pads on, and then I guess they just decided to not have him practice. I didn't hear if there were any other veteran rest days that they've been kind of doing recently, but those were the ones that existed leading up into the start of practice today.
Yes, as far as I'm aware with Kyle Van Noy, went through the walkthroughs, went through the stretches, had pads on, and just it looks like a veteran rest day sort of thing. Or maybe it's something is kind of bugging him, but it's really not that bad. As far as the other three go, and we'll get to the new one today, Webb and McKitty out there on that far third field way down the ways, no pads, nothing. They're not even looking like they're really close. There's some walking, maybe there's some jogging, but that's about it. Again, we don't really know what the injury is, but so far it looks like they're not as close. Drew Tranquil was in full pads and his helmet and even the mushroom cap thing on the far field, jogging, running. So he's really close. Like he had full pads on. He just was not practicing. So maybe they're being extra cautious. But to me, if he's suited up tomorrow at the scrimmage, I wouldn't be surprised. To me, it sounds like next week he's going to get back into things.
Yeah, the Webb one is definitely a little bit disappointing just because we had kind of been on like the Webb renaissance. You know, Staley has kind of been praising him a lot, and we'd seen him kind of, you know, been making plays in training camp. So to see him kind of knocked out again, hopefully it's not a long-term thing, although I guess we don't know. To update on Donald Parham, because I didn't think Jeff Miller would actually respond to me on Twitter. He did say that it is the back of his upper left leg that is wrapped. So that does look like a hamstring tweak. We won't know, I guess, probably until Monday now, whenever Staley does that press conference and gives an update. But if it's not a calf injury, I do think that is a lot better for the Chargers, or at least better than it looked on video. If you do want to watch the video, it is on Brett's Twitter, but it did look pretty bad at first, although today it doesn't, right now at least, if it's just his hamstring that's wrapped, that's not terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't sound terrible, and he was able to kind of get up and walk around according to those that were there, which I think we kind of at least have a gauge there, because when Austin Eckler hurt his hamstring in Tampa Bay, remember that was like a legitimate tear, and he was not even able to get up and walk around. So hopefully it's just a minor tweak, a soft tissue injury thing, and so we'll have to monitor that situation. The Mark Webb situation is definitely a bummer, right? Because he was somebody that we were high on and somebody that I thought would kind of make a natural substitution for Derwin James. And of course, like, nobody's Derwin James, but he's simply a bigger, more athletic kind of player than somebody like Alohi Gilman is, and he can do more of provide more versatility than a guy like Alohi Gilman as well. So Mark Webb can cover the slot, he can blitz, he can cover tight ends, he can play deep. So I was just really hoping to see him get those first team reps and take advantage of that situation while Derwin was dealing with negotiations, but that just hasn't happened. And we'll talk about him in a second, but Raheem Lane has kind of taken on that role and has looked really well. So it sucks for Mark Webb. He was injured last year, dealt with the knee surgery. Maybe this is kind of an adverse side effect from recovering. Maybe he rushed it back. I don't really know, but I'm hopeful that he's able to get back there. I'm much less concerned about Trey McKitty being injured than I am Mark Webb.
Yeah, I hope they don't rinse and repeat. Oh, Mark Webb looks good. Oh, Mark Webb is hurt, and then now he barely plays in the season. It's like no one really well, aside from Raheem Lane, it's like nobody really wants to take Alohi Gilman's spot. Like, we all know Gilman is the odd man out here. He's sort of the adopted child of this group. He wasn't drafted, wasn't brought in, or at least by this regime. But like, no one's taking his spot. Webb's out, and Woods has been kind of so Gilman's kind of hanging in there. And if Webb wants to make this roster, he's got to come back healthy, because Lane's about to take it from him.
Yeah, and I mean, Staley basically kind of said the same thing, which is like, if he just stays healthy, kind of works on himself as a tackler, he'll make the team, in regards to Mark Webb. And unfortunately, he's out again and doesn't really get much of a chance to build momentum into the preseason, which is a real shame considering what Staley thinks he can be. And then Gilman, I think, is a good point. If he kind of works his way back into at least just being healthy, being there on the field, and getting the first crack at that preseason game next week, that could be a major leg up in terms of him maybe making the final roster. Potentially, you get to the conversation of Webb being like IR'd, or, do they put him on the practice squad at first, maybe to start? There could be a lot of different configurations with that. But yeah, the safety room definitely in flux right now with the injuries and, of course, Derwin's contract situation.
Yeah, I would hope this doesn't drag out to the point where Mark Webb is on IR, because, I mean, if he gets put on IR before the season starts, then he's done. Like, he can't come back at all this season. So, we'll have to see. We don't know specifically what kind of injury any of these players have. All we know is that they are soft tissue injuries. That could be a calf, a quad, hamstring, groin. So we don't really know much of what they're dealing with outside of Drew Tranquil, who Brandon Staley specifically said he was dealing with a groin injury. So, I mean, I know it's possible for a guy like Mark Webb coming off a knee surgery, injuring a hamstring right away is not necessarily out of the picture, dealing with that recovery, and just the muscles are not necessarily fully recovered. So, again, we'll provide an update there when we have one. All right. Well, we mentioned him. I think it's only fair in terms of today's takeaways that we start with Raheem Lane. Again, Alex and I were not there. Tyler was, and the guy was apparently flying all over the place today. So what did you see from him? What did you like from him in terms of stepping into that role without, again, two safeties in front of him out there practicing?
I had heard about Lane and people have mentioned him, and Popper has written nice things about him. And, I've seen him flash once, maybe twice at practice, but there's nothing like, okay, like this guy's really standing out. Today, I thought Raheem Lane, the undrafted free agent safety out of Indiana, had a top 3 practice of anybody so far in camp. And it was more than just like, okay, I'm just the deep safety and a ball goes my way and I knock it down and whatever. I'm talking like man coverage, Guyton, Parham, Carter, a bunch of guys. Other than Keenan and Mike Williams, he was covering everyone. And it was in one-on-one situations, you're not supposed to be winning. He had 2 passes broken up. He looked fantastic on everything. His man coverage skills and what he was able to do, it's about as good as what Mark Webb was doing, and Raheem Lane's a healthy one. So if this is what he looks like, and this is the first time I've really keyed in on him, because it's hard with some rookies, new names, new faces. I see 41, I see 49, I see 38. I'm trying to figure out who the hell these guys are. By the end of practice, it was like, that's Raheem Lane. And every time 41 stepped onto the field, I had to watch. And every time something went his way, it was clean coverage, pattern matching beautifully, fluid hips, potentially a pass broken up. The only guy that kind of was able to break up a pass to Donald Parham today, he was covering everyone at different points of the field, all different body types and skill types. And he looked really, really good. It was a fantastic practice. And I really think at this point, he's been, if that's what he's been looking like, it's better than anything else JT Woods put on tape so far, or practice tape so far. He looks outstanding and way more advanced than I would have guessed for someone that was an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, it's great to hear that from Raheem Lane, and the opportunity seems to be there. If he wants to make the team, with Webb hurt, Gilman kind of being like in flux in terms of like whether this regime likes him or not. And then other than that, I mean, you're not working with a lot there in terms of like who's unbeatable on the depth chart. So at this point, obviously Derwin out with the contract situation. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like 2019. When Roderick Teamer made the team as an undrafted free agent because Derwin was hurt and because Adrian Phillips was hurt as well. So he got his chance to make that initial roster and kind of make an impact there. So Raheem Lane could kind of be a similar situation if he starts to get good preseason reps, starts to get some pass breakups. That's definitely a spot, along with Damon Lloyd potentially in the linebacker room, which I think is becoming more and more of a story. That could be, one of the undrafted free agents who makes the team in a year where we didn't really think there would be any, but definitely seems like Lane is not a likely one, but becoming likelier.
Sorry, I'm just somebody asked size comparison, so I was going to look up the RAS scores between Lane and Webb. So
Lane should be way more athletic, I'm guessing, because I know Mark Webb's RAS score is like 4. It's not great. In terms of size, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Lane was slightly more athletic than Webb. Webb looks great. Like him being able to cover receiver, tight ends, whatever, is more of him just being great at route recognition, being fluid. Maybe that's the same for Lane, but Lane, like, it just looks different out there. He looks like a corner playing safety. Like he looked like someone was so used to playing slot corner, so used to playing outside corner, and they transitioned him to safety. He looks amazing. So
yeah, so I'm looking it up right now. Raheem Lane actually did start his career at Indiana as a corner. I do remember
that makes a lot of sense.
Reading that about him when the Chargers eventually signed him. But yeah, Mark Webb actually the superior athlete. Raheem Lane, his RAS score is 4.23. Mark Webb 7.38. Mark Webb has bigger hands, basically about an inch bigger hands, 2 inches longer in terms of arms. Mark Webb 6'1". Raheem Lane is just a hair under 6 feet. Mark Webb 207. Raheem Lane 192. This is from the combine, so that those numbers could have changed for both of these players. Lane is faster though. Mark Webb ran a 4.62. Lane was 4.57, significantly faster in the 10-yard split specifically. Vertical jump was about the same. Mark Webb did have an inch, or I guess a foot longer in the broad jump. Similar shuttle, similar 3-cone. So they're very similar profiles. Lane's a little bit faster, and Webb looks to be a little bit bigger, a little bit more explosive of an athlete. So
okay,
there you go.
He looks like. No, I won't say it.
What does he look like?
He covers like Derwin James did today. Now, I'm not saying that he always does that. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying if you told me that was Derwin James, I'd be like, yeah, okay. It looked that good today. It looks really good. If that's what he looks like, I want this dude on my team.
Yeah, this was none of that was just like off of the top of my head. This was off of the RES website. I think his name is Kent Lee Platt, I think. He's the one who does all that. So his website's fantastic. Has athletic data from pretty much anyone back until like 2005, I think is kind of like the limit that I found. But yeah, so it puts them in an interesting situation, and I think there's a few interesting players overall, because I mean the three of us were not particularly excited about this undrafted free agent class, and Raheem Lane has showed up recently. Ty Shelby has shown up recently. Of course, Jamal Davis isn't really an undrafted free agent this year, but he's popped a little bit. And Hunter Kampmoyer as well. He's an undrafted free agent from last year. And, you know, now you have Damon Lloyd, undrafted free agent from last year, kind of showing up. So, you know, I think they have some more potentially tough decisions on the back 4 or 5 roster spots than we initially anticipated heading into camp because of guys like Raheem Lane.
Yeah, can't wait to see it play out.
Yeah, and I mean, just injuries are kind of the great equalizer, right? Lane has a chance to make this team because of, you know, the situation's sort of in front of him. And then you look at edge, well, you know, obviously Kyle Van Noy's sort of playing linebacker. Linebackers behind Kyle Van Noy get hurt, and so that opens up a chance for Ty Shelby as make like a semi kind of edge 5 type player. And then obviously Damon Lloyd, who has been putting forth great efforts, it seems like, and has been putting up, you know, some explosive plays. So, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the roster construction, I would think that with how much linebacker they're having Kyle Van Noy play, you know, they seem very comfortable with Chris Rumpf as kind of that edge 3 player, and maybe that is playing a part here. But you know, we've heard from a few different people that last potential edge spot is kind of up in the air. Tyler, what have you seen, you know, being there from, you know, those 3 edge rushers kind of on the bubble in terms of Ty Shelby, Jamal Davis, and your favorite Emeka Egbule?
I think of the 3, Ty Shelby is the odd man out. I think he's done some good things. I just think, you know, he's an undrafted free agent. It's going to take some time. The other 2 just are a bit more seasoned. They're more used to playing edge. It'll kind of depend on what they want. To me, Emeka Egbule has been fine. He looks more like a tweener, and he has been a tweener between linebacker and edge rusher. Not like Kyle Van Noy. I just think he's like an undersized edge rusher kind of type. Jamal Davis, though, they've said really nice things about him. I've seen him pop. Although today, Ryan Hunter had the best play of the day on him, shoving him to the ground.
Go.
And then like his little mushroom cat was like flopping this way, but he got up and like pulled the bow and arrow back and shot it right in Davis's face. So that was pretty good. It was such a good celebration.
Offensive lineman celebration, man. It is
best.
such a rare thing, but when they come out, they are just epic. So shout out Ryan Hunter today.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I do think Jamal Davis probably should make it. They seem to like his power. I think he's been great against the run so far, setting that edge, and that's what they want. You know, they want someone who can do that. So I think that if you're looking for someone powerful to develop, and geez, I didn't know what this guy looked like until I was trying to find a thumbnail image for him. The dude is 1% body fat and 99% just brick. So
Jamal Davis is jacked. He really is.
He's absolutely jacked. So if you're telling me that he's powerful and he's setting the edge really well, and you look at that picture, yeah, I mean, that's the guy you want setting the edge. So I do think that he has the edge in terms of play. Whether that makes a difference because Egbule was sort of a draft pick, sort of more of a veteran, I don't know. But if you had a gun to my head, I'd say Davis would make it if they keep another edge rusher.
Yeah, Jamal Davis definitely falls into the Xander Horvath category of we could look at him shirtless on this podcast for
Sure.
a long period of time. Yeah, Ronaldo Hill did talk about Chris Rumpf yesterday. Obviously, kind of said he looks bigger, kind of fits into that edge 3 role. And then specifically after, again, this isn't like a depth chart or anything, but did mention Jamal Davis next after Chris Rumpf and then Emeka Egbule. So if you want to kind of bake that in as edge 4 and edge 5 with Kyle Van Noy as the linebacker 1 in this scenario, that does kind of sound like what it is right now. And then, obviously that last spot can come down to Ty Shelby versus Egbele versus Davis, if you want to, throw that into the mix. But
Sure.
that's what it seems like right now.
Yeah, I think in terms of like just the physical profiles there, I feel like having Rumph and Davis would be a good balance in terms of having a bit more of a gap shooter, speed rusher in Chris Rumph, and then you have the power rusher, edge setter, run defender in Jamal Davis. So I think I like that balance a little bit more. I wish they were a tad more balanced with the backup edge rushers last year, because I felt like Kyler Fackrell was a little bit undersized, not necessarily super strong at the point of attack. But with Rumph and Jamal Davis, I feel like you can do a lot more different things as opposed to just having two of the same body types, two of the similar players and similar strengths and weaknesses. So I like that balance right now. But again, we'll see if that changes depending on how Ty Shelby and these guys look in the scrimmage and, of course, the preseason games, because they're going to get a ton of reps in the preseason games, because we know Joey and Khalil are not playing in the preseason games. So I am excited to see how that one shapes out.
Good old 9.43 RAS score, and I think he was at
9.3 for who? For Jamal?
9.43 for Jamal, yeah. So
sheesh. What's his short shuttle and 3-cone?
So shuttle is
What percentile is it?
36 for shuttle. 3-cone is 82.
Interesting. That's a very, very stark difference.
Yeah, he's more of a 40 vertical broad jump sort of guy.
What's his broad?
10 foot.
What percentile is that?
Oh, sorry, 88%. Vertical,
That's
96%.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you want with the edge rushers, you want to see them test well in those areas, in terms of explosiveness. What's up?
Oh, so they did list him as a linebacker, so I'd have to convert to like edge, I guess, too. So I actually don't know what the percentile would be there. I'm sure he'd be way faster comparatively, but probably not as strong.
There we go. All right, Tyler, who else stood out from practice today that you want to give a shout out to?
Ooh.
Sounded like Jalen Guyton got some good work today.
Yeah, Jalen Guyton did. I think it's just, again, it feels so hit or miss for him, because sometimes the quarterback just won't get him the ball. Yeah, he's wide open. Easton Stick underthrows by 22 yards. It just seems to always be that way. So Jalen Guyton looked good today, looked good yesterday. Keenan Allen has looked good and always looks good. He just seems to be the clear-cut wide receiver one. Braden Fehoko, once again, there was an arm over. They were doing, it was kind of drills. So it was like the center, the right guard, and the right tackle versus one interior defensive lineman, just to kind of work on, either double teams or shooting gaps or whatever. And Fehoko just arm over right past Zion and Corey Lindsley for what would have been a sack or a run to stop or run tackle for loss or whatever. He looks good. Posted a video of him blowing right past Brendan Hymas for another run stop. Just give him the roster spot at this point. I'll be distraught if he doesn't make the roster. Who else today? I don't know. Who else did I tweet about? I already forget.
I don't know if you tweeted about it, but the Chargers posted the video. I mean, we were just talking about Michael Davis and sort of lack of plays at this point. And Michael Davis did make a play of the ball, getting an interception on a pass intended for Joe Reed. And sort of tipped it in the air and also came down with it. So I thought that was relatively impressive.
Yeah, that was good. For some reason, it's been the Michael Davis Joe Reed battle. Michael Davis did get an interception today, so that's good. Eamon Ogbongbemiga wasn't doing a lot today. He had a good interception covering Gerald Everett. I still don't know how he managed to get that interception, but he did come down with the football, so that's good. Who else? Joey Bosa looked great. So conversely, the tackles did not.
Sorry, I had myself on mute there for a second, but that's good.
It was, dude. There was one where Pipkins was like, "Okay, I'm gonna ride Joey Bosa out." Like, Joey Bosa went a little bit wide. He kind of rode him out, no problem, great. And then Bosa's like, "Okay, I'll go outside again." And then he fakes going outside, spin moves right back in for a sack, and Pipkins is just like, "Oh, I'm not blocking anyone anymore." So both Norton and Pipkins had a rough day, I think, today versus Joey Bosa, which it's so hard to judge. What is good? Not getting destroyed. I don't understand. I don't know how to quantify like who's doing better. I don't know. One's getting beaten up by Joey Bosa. The other one's getting beaten up by Joey Bosa. So yeah, Joey Bosa looks great.
Yeah.
I'll say that much.
Yeah, it's tough to tell there because you're either going against Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, or you're going against Chris Rumph and Jamal Davis. And like, no shade to those guys, right? But like, you're either getting destroyed or you're doing well against kind of an undrafted free agent, 5th round draft pick kind of player. So it's just kind of a lose-lose situation. So we're not going to get any clarity on the right tackle situation until preseason games. So I'm curious to see if they mix and match in terms of like left tackle, right tackle, because I can't imagine Rashawn is going to be playing very much, if at all, in the preseason games. But, the Rams won't start any of their guys in the preseason, so that's going to be a little bit frustrating. So the Cowboys is really going to be like the key opportunity, both in practice and in the preseason games, for the right tackles to figure themselves out.
Yeah, I watched Joe Lombardi's press conference, and he talked about, the story's not told yet. The story's not written on running backs and tackles. Like, they need all of these days, all the preseason action to really figure out what they actually are all about, which, we knew that.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like in general, jobs aren't going to be won and lost, particularly when it comes to the right tackle situation. Was Seattle the last game last year where Trey Pipkins sort of kind of got destroyed? I don't remember if that was the last preseason game or if that was.
I want to say
wasn't
yes.
The Rams.
I want to say yes because they had 2 games in LA.
Okay, yeah, and then I think Seattle was the last one, and that was sort of when Pipkins kind of lost the job to Norton at that point. Granted, he wasn't losing a starting tackle job because Bulaga was still theoretically healthy at that point, and then obviously goes down in the Washington game. But yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be lost or won until the Cowboys game, probably, or even the final one. They might even take it all the way till then, especially if one of them's playing left tackle, one of them's playing right, because like Steven said, I don't think Rashawn Slater will play much at all, if any, in the preseason this year.
Yeah. Another name I'll shout out, Hunter Kampmoyer, both because he's been looking good. He took a fullback rep today. He's been practicing long snapping. He's a blocking tight end. He's caught some passes. He caught a touchdown today. And McKinney's not practicing. Parham's probably not practicing. It's all stuck up for him right now. He's healthy. He's not a dynamic option, but he's making enough plays. He's blocking well enough. It's a good, solid role. And I think at this point, you kind of have to pencil him in for a roster spot.
Yeah, and I think also the fullback situation really plays into that because we haven't really heard much of anything since the first week about Xander Horvath, Gabe Neighbors. Again, we know who Gabe is. We know what his strengths and weaknesses are or are not. So I think if you make an argument for Hunter Kampmoyer, it's that it kind of lets you be a little bit slower with Xander Horvath and kind of let him figure out his role, figure out his, adjustment to the league before you have to kind of start playing him a little bit more. So very similar path for me in terms of like Steven Anderson's roster spot, because they knew that they were going to be a little bit, slower in bringing Trey McKitty on. Obviously different position, tight end, fullback. But, if Hunter Kampmoyer is, getting receiving reps with the first team, playing special teams in place of Drew Tranquil, he's lining up in fullback and taking advantage of those opportunities, then I think, again, he's definitely stock up like Tyler says. I agree with that. Anybody else, Tyler?
Nope, not that I can think of. I tried to watch a bit of the offensive line stuff, but it's just far field, so couldn't give you much there. I mean, Slater looked good. Rashawn Slater looked great. Watching him versus anybody else, it's like, oh, that's the all-pro tackle.
Yeah. Big differences there. I will say Joe Lombardi was asked about Zion and Jamari Salyer. They're very excited about both of those players. We'll get to our stocks here in a second, and I think one of us has Salyer. I know I chose Brendan Hymas for mine, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But everything in terms of Zion Johnson has been fantastic so far. We didn't really get to talk about his first day of one-on-ones Tyler kind of phrased it as him passing the test. Daniel Popper was very, very impressed with what he saw up close and personal. So, we're hearing a lot of great things about Zion. Again, guys like Corey Linsley, Matt Filer have been raving about him, which I think for Linsley in particular is definitely, speaks volumes of where Zion is at, because we don't really Corey Linsley is very reserved in terms of praising guys and giving information. It's generally just a lot of like reserved intel, if you will. So Corey speaking the way that he did about Zion was to me kind of like the big takeaway from everything. And obviously I'm not there watching it, but that really spoke volumes to me.
Yeah, he's looked good. I get the whole, everyone goes, oh, he looked like Rashawn Slater last year. I still wouldn't go that far. I still think Rashawn Slater's debut was far more impressive. Also, he was facing Joey Bosa, and no disrespect to like Sebastian Joseph Day, but to me, Joey Bosa, like, come on, when we hadn't seen Slater even play that year, we hadn't seen him since 2020 at that point. So, for what Zion's doing, he looks good. Don't get me wrong, but I still think it's like a pass the test with a B plus sort of debut.
Yeah.
A for a rookie for sure. But if you're asking me just to like, what did that look like versus other NFL players? B plus, which is great for him right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that he just looks ready, right? Like there hasn't really been that like embarrassing, moment where he just got like blown backwards, or, the fact that he can keep up with Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson and all those guys, and do the standard NFL offensive lineman thing, which is just blow Jerry Tillery 10 feet back. The fact that he can do all those things, he's progressing at the level that he's supposed to at this point.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm retroactively go back and say A plus just for that alone.
Yeah. Blowing up Jerry Tillery gets you some brownie points. Again, somebody that we still have not heard very much about in terms of making plays. So Morgan Fox, neither, man. Like, one of these guys needs to show up and start making some plays. We need some clarity there. I know what you're getting out of Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson. I think everybody feels very good about them. We've heard some good things there. Sebastian obviously flashing a little bit more as a pass rusher, but man, like we're getting a lot of clarity on a lot of these position battles. But Fox versus Tillery is like really, it's like, okay, Fox is playing a little bit more, but they're not winning the battle.
No, I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw Fox like have a tackle for a loss or have a pressure or something. I mean, I saw Zion going against him, and Zion handled him just fine. Jerry Tillery, Zion handled him just fine. Those two, and we'll talk about the scrimmage. I don't know who the leader is between those two right now. It should be Fehoko. Fehoko should be DT number 3 on this team right now, because those two are just not really getting it done. It's practice, I know, but they're not. You got to have some wins or something, right? Like Sebastian Joseph Day, great tackle in the backfield, or great blew up the run today, or whatever, or something, a pass rush, anything. I haven't seen those two move. Like, I don't think they've been involved. If you told me that they're not on the field, I believe you. I haven't seen them do anything yet except lose to Zion Johnson.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, even as pass rushers, like, we heard from the first day that, of course, Fehoko had a good couple rushes there against Jamari Salyer. I think he had a good one against Matt Filer too. Sebastian Joseph Day did beat Zion Johnson on one on Monday as well as Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, according to the beat reporters that were there. So at this point, just start those three, have those three be your base defensive tackles, and nobody's running on you. Just have the biggest improvement be that trio of defensive tackles. And I don't even care if they're like all technically nose tackles, just get the 3 best guys out there. And the fact that Braden Fehoko and Sebastian Joseph Day are, producing more pass rush plays than Morgan Fox is a tad disappointing for sure.
Yeah, it's a tad disappointing, but you still got to have one of them out there. It can't just be like all the 300-pound guys. You probably still got to have one of Tillery and Fox out there. It is disappointing that we haven't heard more about Fox. Can't say I'm surprised about Jerry Tillery. It sort of is what it is at this point. It is a little bit disappointing about Fox, but I'm not concerned yet. I guess, wait till we see some of the preseason games. I'm sure both of them will play, as that's sort of the competition for lead pass rusher at this point. But yeah, it is disappointing we haven't heard more, but I guess I'm not surprised we haven't heard more just because, of how training camp kind of lends itself anyway. And, I think once these guys get into preseason, we'll start to figure out, much like the right tackle battle, who separates themselves from the other.
Apparently, Tanya Popper dissed Tillery. I've read every article, so I'm really not remembering that. I don't know. All right, well, let's shift gears here. We'll update some of our Saturday stocks. Tyler, if you could share the sheet here real quick, and then we will kind of go over some things. After we do the stocks, we will get to a preview of the scrimmage, things that we're looking for, some clarity that we're hoping for. So don't go anywhere just yet if you're bored by our stock game. Hopefully you are not bored. I think it's a really fun opportunity to measure things. So stay here with us. All right, Alex, why don't you get started on somebody that you are hoping to move up or move down from your list?
Can we go to my list? Because I don't remember everybody who's on it off the top of my head. Hold on. DeAndre Carter.
Tyler changed the name on the sheets. I'm dying.
No, I made that Jewish day traders last week.
Okay.
No, I did it last week during the show. I mean, DeAndre Carter's got to move up, right? $5 to $10. I think we can all agree.
Yes, I agree. For what it's worth, I also kind of put like my general guess on where these guys would be up or down, but we can talk about like everyone's specific.
Okay. Where are you moving up? Yeah. Sorry.
I was just thinking if we're doing like stock up, stock down. I'm just trying to go through all my guys. Kyle Van Noy, are we saying neutral?
I'd say hold. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say hold or neutral. Morgan Fox, I guess down.
I think you kind of
has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess down at this point. Isaiah Spiller up, hold. Or neutral or hold. I'm fine with either one.
What did you see from Spiller today, Tyler?
I saw really good blocking on special teams. I saw a drop. I saw some work on offense as a receiver, but he's really just kind of the third back and receiving back on this team. Like he looks like he was drafted to be the receiving back on this team. He did have one carry. He tried to bounce it outside, and I believe Amen dropped him for a tackle for loss. He's kind of dancing too much. So he's still RB3. If he's anything, he's RB3. So I think he's kind of been the same. He hasn't really pushed into RB2 yet.
Yeah. I could go hold or neutral there, or that kind of makes sense. He has been getting the first team reps. I do still think by the time we talk next week or we talk on the 20th, that Isaiah Spiller will be up. Bryce Callahan pretty clearly up based on how they've been using him. Darius Swinton. Ronaldo Hill basically confirmed that he's the CB3 / slot corner at this point. So, I mean, I think that has to be stock up. Dean Leonard been making a lot of pass breakups. I think he's up.
I think he's down compared to where he was when you bought the stock, if that makes sense.
Okay. I mean,
rough week.
Again, I haven't seen the week he had, but it seemed like everything was going okay, like Monday-ish, and I don't know if no one's really said anything's changed. So, I mean, I'll go based on what you said because you're there, but
yeah, it's just been everything down the sideline that first week without pads was amazing. And then they're like, okay, let's run comebacks, digs, slants, and that sort of thing. And then it's been a bit more rough for Dean Leonard. He looks like what he wasn't good at in training or in college, which is fine. But it's been like from where he was as a guy who's like, holy crap, let's get rid of Tavon Campbell, to now you're starting to see some like, chinks in the armor, if you will. Now, he's probably a stock hold based on kind of where I expected him to be. Like he's exactly what I thought he is. But if we're talking about where he was from when you bought the stock to now, I do think it's down. And I say that as someone who does have Dean Leonard stock.
I could go down or hold. That's fine.
We could do hold.
Yeah, I'd say hold is fair there.
Okay.
Because I don't think you put him into the $1 tier or $2 tier, I guess. But yeah, I would say hold.
Cool.
I think Kelly's a hold too.
I think Kelly, you have to move up. I think Kelly, you have to move
think
up.
I'm so
Well, yeah, because he is our RB2 technically. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll move up again, but I think he's at least holding on to that RB2 spot pretty significantly.
Yeah. Well, I think having Kelly and Spiller stock is a good one because if one goes up, the other one goes down, and the other one.
Sure.
So I mean, I think that kind of cancels out. I guess Mark Webb, is down because it's a shame because he started so good at the beginning of the week and then unfortunately gets injured. Will Clapp is probably a neutral. I would assume.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd hold it there. Yeah, sure.
How would Will Clapp go up? Plummeting.
Can you really plummet that much from $1? I guess is the question.
Yes.
Yeah, from $1 to $0.01. I don't know. I guess that's the thing with Easton Stick, and maybe we should talk about this now. He's really bad. Like, I haven't been there and I haven't watched him, but the fact that he's in his third year or fourth year,
yeah,
and he's still getting balls batted down at the line like really consistently every practice, that's not good. I still think he makes the team because they just seem to like him in the quarterback room for whatever reason. And again, the last 2 years, they've kept him on the team. So I would kind of argue hold on that basis. But yeah, he's been bad. And I guess I would say it's down. But I still kind of think he makes the team, which is the infuriating part.
Right.
Gaziano seems like a neutral. And maybe Egbolite up just based on what Hill said. Yeah.
It's been quiet for Gaziano. I don't know. This week it has been quiet for him.
Yeah, it's really been quiet since the pick six.
But it's been quiet for him, but it also feels like it's quiet for everyone who's like a pass rushing DT right now.
That's very true. That is very true.
So I'm sort of holding all. If we're saying Fox is down, I guess we would also say Tillery is down. Gaziano feels like a hold. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he hasn't really. Nothing's really changed for him. Like the stock is low, and it just kind of has hovered there. I guess so I would say hold because it really wasn't that high last week either. And I'd say hold for Egbule because he's still kind of like battling it out with Jamal Davis. And frankly, like I could almost argue down for him, but I would say hold, and I don't think it's up.
Fine with me. All right. How much money did I make and or lose? Am I at the same? I don't know. We want to count it up.
You want to count it up? Okay. So we got 9.
Okay. If we say,
oh God.
Okay. All right. It only goes down by $1. All right.
Yeah.
So we're only going up and down $1, right?
Except for the dollar tier where it's double or half.
Okay. So then stay at 5 for Spiller. 6. Carter up to 6. Callahan up to 6. I feel like Callahan should be up to like 8, to be honest.
I feel like Carter should be 10. I mean, I don't
know. Well, we have, I mean, we only go up a certain amount per week. Otherwise, it's like a subjective. Oh, he's up $3.42 today.
I got you. So 3 for Dean still.
With how we just got into the minutia about which broad jump we spent 5 minutes talking about that, I wouldn't be surprised if we did $3.42.
All right, so 4 for Kelly, 2 for Webb. There you go. You got it. 0 for Stick. Is that what plummeting means?
No, we'll go 0.5.
Change it to
0.5.
0.0.
50 cents.
0.5 is generous. Thank you.
He's now 50 cents. Okay. And then 1 and 1. Okay.
All right. What does that come out to? Am I hitting the big bucks or please add it up for me, Tyler?
Got you. Okay. Oh, oops. Why did I do that? This is so much pressure. I'm sitting here trying to do this stupid thing. Hold on. God, why did I make this game up? All right. Someone's going to be like, you should have done this. I don't know.
Google 50.5.
We're up half a cent, baby.
Half a cent.
Let's get it.
Go.
All right.
Jewish day traders.
I'll take it. This is like when I bought like I bought like 0.0005 Bitcoin, and
Bitcoin,
it's like
yeah,
just check
nice.
it.
Yeah, I was never a Bitcoin guy myself, but
Yeah,
all right. So Trey Pipkins, I feel like still hold.
sure.
Again, so this is my list here. Asante Samuel Jr.
I kind of think it's up. Like he's to me, I don't know how much more he'll go, but I think he's been passing the tests where it's like, okay, he
Sure.
does look like the CB2 and he deserves to be there.
Yeah,
my
I would
guess.
agree with that. And Brandon Staley, talked about him on the I Am Athlete podcast and was just raving about him. So I think they feel great about Asante and where he's at. So I agree there. Parham, before he got injured, I would have definitely said up. But what do we do about his injury right now?
It's so undecided. I'll say up because once he returns, it could be a week, but like his role is ridiculously big compared to what it was going to be before. So I think like in terms of stocks, we're also looking for like future outlook. I think that his stock is up. I mean, he could return to practice tomorrow. Like we have no idea. So I would say up till we know more because we don't know what the injury is.
Alex, you agree there in terms of the injury outlook?
Buy the hype, sell the news.
I think you could go up or neutral. I'm fine with either one because I mean the red zone presence he had this week was really good.
Yeah,
it was.
If it is a hamstring tweak, like Jeff Miller kind of insinuated, then I think that's fine to put up.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how they work this because this is something that we talked about in our group message. Like last year, it was pretty clear that Jared Cook was still very involved in the red zone, and Donald Parham was just essentially doing the scraps that were left there. And so, if Parham is the red zone tight end, I think we could be talking about a big season from him.
Mm-hmm.
Woods definitely down. Unfortunate. Yeah. Ronaldo Hill was talking about him, and just mentally, it's not really clicking for him right now. It's still a lot of hesitation, which is totally understandable. He's playing in a completely different scheme, different role, adjusting as a rookie. I expect that to go up eventually, but right now it is definitely not up. Raheem Lane, for what it's worth, has taken more first team reps than JT Woods right now, according to Daniel Popper. So sucks, but I think Woods definitely down. Rumpf, I would say up because we kind of anticipated him being edge 4. They kind of sound like they're projecting him for edge 3 and feel good about it. We already talked about Dean Leonard being down. Brendan Hymus definitely down. Again, when I took Hymus, I felt like his experience would lend itself more towards being that third offensive guard. But he's not even close to Jamari Salyer, apparently. So that's an unfortunate one. Was high about him. Nick Neiman, I would say hold. Like he's had some good flashes.
It depends because he had such a good couple of days where I wasn't there, and then that was it. So I don't know. Like he had like 4 sacks, whatever, the last couple of days.
That's true.
So it's up to you.
Do you know who got the first team reps today at linebacker? Was it mostly Amen and Reader?
Yeah. Amen. It was definitely Amen as the other guy with Reader. So yeah, it certainly wasn't Neiman.
Okay, sounds like they've kind of mixed that role up a little bit over the last few days with Kyle Van Noy resting. So
hold.
I would say hold for Neiman.
Hold, but performing.
Yeah. Maurice French. I don't think either hold or anything bad.
Down. Yeah, it's like he's just existed.
Hold. And then for Campmoyer and Davis, I feel like we've talked about them a lot today. So I would say both of those two are up.
You picked Jamal Davis. Good for you. Really good. I should report differently. I should just lie. So just to make sure that my stuff works out pretty well. Okay.
There you go.
Not bad.
So I feel good about this. I got a few ups right now.
54. My
54.
Goodness.
I got beat up the stocks by a Mormon.
I don't even know if he doesn't even do stocks.
Jews and
I mean, I don't do stocks, but we're not precluded from participating in stock exchanges. Like it's gambling that we're like frowned upon not to do, but we can invest in stocks.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Okay. Palmer feels like an up.
Yeah, I agree.
Down. What do you say for Parham?
Parham.
Hold or up?
Parham, we
I
said
think
up.
we said up.
Spiller, we said hold. Woods is down.
What do you say for
Major's way too small. I can barely see it, man.
Well, I'm used to things being too small.
Shit.
I'm really kicking up the race jokes at 55 minutes.
Tyler the Racist. Follow me on Twitter at Tyler the Racist.
Tyler the racist. Not like Tyler the creator.
I'll work with kids in about 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Get it all
Falco
out of your
definitely
system
up.
now.
Jason Moore has been practicing. I forgot to mention him. He has not practiced this week, it sounds like.
Do we feel like Bandy's up or hold?
I'll say
He's been good, but it kind of depends on what you think his value has been over the last week.
He did get those first team reps earlier in the week.
He did.
Do think that Joe Reed being second up on the kick returns after Carter might be kind of neutral for Bandy, though? I don't know.
He is second on punt returns when Reed is not on punt returns, for what it's worth.
I'll say it's neutral.
Yeah, I agree.
You could live with that. Up.
And then Catmeyer, we said up.
Cool. 11.
Wow, Steven beat all our asses. Jeez.
9.
Terrible.
6. 4. You're watching a dumb biology major try to do any kind of math here. Here we go.
Somebody pointed out that Dean Leonard was down in Alex's and then a hold in mine.
Now we got hold. Alex is a hold. You're a hold.
Okay.
I think we might have discussed him as a down, but then I said, I think we ended up on hold.
Okay.
He's
So
currently
what were you
holding.
at? Oh, you didn't figure it out yet. Okay.
Nah, not yet. 2. All right. Like Steven's got a decent lead here. 51.5.
Fuck.
All right, how we got?
I'm in last place.
You're the worst so far, Alex. But that's
Disgrace to my
okay.
family.
Yeah.
Your family.
All right. Well, that was that. A lot of stock up, stock down. Nothing terrible, but here's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on this being an absolute disaster with Trey Pipkins. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
That's kind of why I stayed away from Pipkins and Norton.
But he's in the lead, man. So what am I supposed to say?
But if we go back to last preseason, Pipkins was also in the lead and then lost it pretty bad. So I don't know.
True.
That's why I wanted to stay away from both of them. I don't know. I'm just hoping Easton Stick clings to the bottom of the roster so then he can stay at $1. Actually, no. I want him off the team in real life outside of this stupid stock exchange game. But
13NN1N wants to know if we would consider adding one stock each to our portfolios.
What? I can buy one more with the half a cent I made this week.
Oh, because we made some money. So we're
yeah, Steven made $4.
cash
You can
out.
buy
Yeah.
a $4 one, but I can
go.
buy half a cent of stock.
I think he's specifically mentioning because like somebody like Raheem Lane, like obviously he's not on our sheet, but
okay.
that feels dangerous because I literally just said he had the top 3 camp. So I'd be buying
Right.
very high here.
yeah, you would be. You'd have to put him at least in the $3 tier right now. Because
I feel like I should buy some like Xander Horvath because I feel like that's on the way.
Can we go to our sheet and see what we can buy if we all want to buy one more?
Oh, are we actually? Because I have no idea how to adjust for our.
It was just an idea from Big Mac Guy.
I don't. Well, okay, we can go to the roster that we have available.
Yeah, because Raheem Lane wasn't even on the roster, man.
Well, you know.
Which again, I'm not saying I blame you. Like that's not a surprise. He would be like the only one I think that at this point we could choose from.
Well, we can add in. I don't know if we want to add in Surratt and Lane.
We could. So how do we work this if you buy somebody? You only have 50 cents. Who can you buy, Alex?
I can double up on my Easton Stick stock, which is at half a cent. I can buy that back.
Yeah, Damon Lloyd's not on here either, for what it's worth.
Okay.
I can't buy anything else, so I think yeah. Can I sell my half a cent of Easton Stick stock so then I can be up to $51 and then be able to purchase something
No,
else?
you can't gain money by selling one of your stocks. You can't like boost your.
Yeah, we're not getting rid of players, right? We'd just be potentially adding someone.
I guess. I mean, do we want to just each pick another dollar person? That's not. I don't know.
Do I have the right to do that since I only
Since you only made 50 cents? I mean, you could. We said no selling, right?
No. The 50-cent tier.
Put like Foster Cyril in the 50-cent one, or
Yeah. Let's put Peters.
Can I buy Sage Surratt for 50 cents?
Yeah, let's do that.
Fine. That's what I'll do. Buy Sage Surratt for 50 cents.
Nice.
It's like maybe one of those penny stocks from like Jordan Belfort and
so
Mobile
then
Wall
put
Street.
we'll put Damon Lloyd in the $1 tier, right?
Sure.
And then we doing Lane in $3.
Ooh.
I don't know because he technically really is still safety 5. Like, can you have Webb, Gilman, and Lane in the $3 tier? I don't know. Sure. We're gonna lose our entire audience
because if he starts at $3, I guess how high can he get really if he stays at safety 5 or safety 6?
there. Okay.
Okay.
We'll come back to this next week and say whose stock we bought or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's fair. Cool. We'll chat it up on Monday or something like that, and we'll update you guys next time. All right. So our final thing here, again, lasted a little bit longer on the stocks and things like that, but we just want to talk about the scrimmage tomorrow. Obviously, this is going to be really the most important practice that the Chargers have during training camp. This is the only time that we'll get to see starting caliber players, be tackled to the ground and be able to break tackles and things like that. So again, this is a really important thing. Like Matt Filer is going to be playing in this game. Corey Linsley, Rashawn Slater, all of the trench guys, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. So this is the most important practice. I wish Derwin James were playing in this practice, but it is what it is. So Alex, we'll start with you. What is one thing that you are most looking forward to learn about something on the Chargers, somebody on the Chargers after tomorrow's scrimmage?
Yeah, I guess this will be our best chance to look at right tackle. Yeah, I guess we kind of seen it in camp, but it's sort of like, oh, well, that's like far away, all the way over there, or like they're not like fully going at it like they might in a scrimmage. Again,
Joey and Khalil have been resting a lot too.
Right. And so if Joey and Khalil are back, that'll give us some indication. But even just seeing someone like Chris Rumpf and go against Trey Pipkins and Storm Norton, or any of the other edges as well, Jamal Davis, who has been sort of tasked with power. We've seen how Storm has struggled with power before. So even just seeing some of those guys and how they hold up against the edge pressure in what's their first real test, I guess, of the offseason before they get to that first preseason game against the Rams on Saturday. But that's what I'm kind of most interested in. But in general, I guess I'll say trenches, because it's probably our only real chance to see the trenches prior to any preseason action.
Yep, that's a good call. Good that Alex on brand with the trenches pick, as I expected.
Okay, Tyler. Well, what's your pick here?
Give me the running backs and the fullbacks. I have no idea what they look like. I think they all kind of just look like, because the defense has been absolutely smothering them, but I want to see them in kind of a game rhythm, getting something going. And really, it's just been this weird concoction mixture of which running back goes out there. And maybe that's the same, but I would love to see like a series with Spiller, a series with Kelly, a series with Roundtree, and so on. Other than that, we already talked about Morgan Fox and Jerry Tillery, and then to some extent, JT Woods. Like, I'm kind of waiting to see what these guys, like, they're going to be on the roster. I'm pretty darn certain Tillery, Fox, Woods are going to be on the starter or on the roster and a big part of the rotation. But like, I got to see them do maybe a little bit more. Woods, not as much pressure, obviously, but Fox and Tillery, they have so much riding on them. As like we think they're the two best pass rushing interior defensive linemen. That's kind of what they should be, and they've been a nothing burger so far. So I want to see these guys that are basically guaranteed a roster spot actually show me that there's something there. Because right now, the undrafted free agent at LSU who was a nose tackle is outperforming them right now. So I need to see something from them in a live setting.
Yeah, two good calls there. In terms of the running backs, I think it was Daniel Popper who mentioned that the physicality of Spiller has been starting to pop a little bit more once pads have been on. Austin Eckler and others have said that Joshua Kelly looks to be like the more explosive runner, looks to be, kind of early rookie year Joshua Kelly in terms of his confidence and his swagger and his approach. So if he fumbles tomorrow, does that change? Is he able to not fumble? So I agree there. I think for me, this is something that Joe Lombardi has talked about a couple of times, that the scrimmage is really where they will be able to kind of open up the playbook at least somewhat. And, I talked about this the other day on Twitter, but I'm just so curious to see what they do with the rushing attack in general, because last year they were so limited by several different factors. Of course, like the right side of the offensive line wasn't very good. And Arjun has kind of pointed out the EPA per play difference, yards per carry average, expected yards per carry, everything that you could was so much worse off of the right side. There wasn't really a running back 2 situation sorted out until the back end of the season. So like, I think I did the math one time and it was like 65% of the RB2 yards for the Chargers came in like the last 6 weeks of the season, when Justin Jackson really started to figure it out and start a couple games when Austin Eckler was out. And then also you're talking about DeAndre Carter, contributing there, Gerald Everett contributing there. So I'm just so curious to see how this rushing attack is really going to come together, because last year it was basically like, okay, we have counter, we have duo, and it's Austin Eckler or nothing until like the last 6 weeks of the season. So that's something that I'm hoping to, get some information about. It is, what does the rushing attack look like? How involved in particular is DeAndre Carter? I know Alex kind of liked the tweet yesterday, but I think realistically Carter could be like a Ty Montgomery kind of player for this team. Give him 20 carries, give him 30 to 40 targets, and just be a playmaker. So I'm hoping that we get some intel there just from a schematic standpoint.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. More Raheem Lane, please.
Alex, anything else you want to talk about in terms of maybe defense or special teams?
Are we gonna do extra points? Are we kicking field
I would
goals?
think they do everything, right?
All
They did the whole shebang last year in the scrimmage, right, Tyler?
At least field goals, and sometimes they would do a field goal and then kind of move it, do another field goal, move it, do another field goal, even though it's not really how the real game would work. So
did they
extra points? I don't remember.
Did they do any punting?
Yes, because Lachlan Edwards punted one to the right, pretty far. So yes, they did punt.
Well, let's see if this J.K. Scott hype lives up to it as a punter. Because he's been timed as having these really long hang times, and people have been doing that on Twitter. So I'll be curious to see if in a real game kind of setting, if he lives up to that. Obviously, not like a lot to decide on special teams. Are they doing like punt? I assume they're doing punt returns, kick returns, kind of. But probably,
I don't remember if they did that.
They did. I don't know if it was like right after a touchdown or whatever, but I remember they definitely did returns. Like I remember hearing about KJ Hill and Jalen Guyton returning stuff.
The good old days.
The good old days. Yeah. Now Relayer Entry is a blocker on kick return. He's not the kick returner. He's a blocker.
Right. Good. So I guess just seeing who their first team special teams unit is, who their second team guys are, that'll be interesting to see in practice.
Yeah. I would also say, I remember the scrimmage is really where the Kaiser White hype started to really build up and because we were not expecting Kaiser to be linebacker 1 heading into training camp. And then after the scrimmage, it was like, okay, like Kaiser has arrived. He is the guy right now. So the linebacker room needs some sorting out, man. It really does. And Damon Lloyd has looked good in stretches. Amon has had some really good plays as well. So has Nick Neiman. We've talked about all three of those guys. But if Kyle Van Noy is playing heavily linebacker, I don't think you can keep more than one of those three. So I think that group needs to figure itself out a little bit. And, the scrimmage is going to be a good chance there for those three young players, especially if Kyle Van Noy is resting again.
Yeah, and I think he would. I wouldn't even be surprised if Mack and Bosa had a series, maybe show something against Pipkins and Norton just to kind of gauge them in a live setting. But I think they'll probably rest it up. I do want to see this, what the hell is his name? Hunter Campmoyer thing play out. I'm really curious how much of a lock or not a lock he is. Can he perform? Because sure, he's been like in the outside as the tight end 4. Like, yeah, he's the tight end 4. Yeah, with the 2s, he's been performing, but like feels maybe cosmetic or they're just letting him do what they need him to do because he's just the tight end 4. But now he's probably going to walk in as the tight end 2 tomorrow. So I really want to see what he looks like in this expanded role because I don't think all that much of him as an explosive, dominant kind of player. He's not Gerald Everett. He's certainly not like the Donald Parham height by any means. But I want to see what he looks like in this tight end 2 role because I think tomorrow he's got maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, but probably just a week. And certainly with the scrimmage to say, hey, you have to keep me on the roster because this is what I've done with the first team and some of like the 2As. So I really want to see that play out.
Any thoughts there, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, Campmoyer, in the vein of some of the other guys we talked about, gets a chance because of injuries, right? Parham, Kitty, not going to go tomorrow, I assume. So he'll have his opportunity. I don't know how much he'll be able to flash, right, in such a short, time period in the scrimmage, especially with Gerald Everett as kind of the one, tight end 1. I assume he'll get kind of the bulk of the work there still. But he'll have his opportunity tomorrow. I guess along with Crum and Hook and all those other guys that are we're kind of buried down the depth chart now that are promoted because of injuries.
Yeah. One other thing that I want to see more Keenan versus Bryce Callahan. I've seen a lot of the clips of Keenan roasting somebody have been Keemon Hall or Tavon Cavill or Dean Leonard. So if we're talking about good on good, I want to see some Keenan versus Bryce Callahan and ramp that battle up a little bit more.
Should be fun.
So that's going to do it for us today. Tyler and I are going to be going live tomorrow around 8. We'll figure out what time specifically the scrimmage is going to end at. But the two of us are going to have some takeaways there. I really wish that they would put, televise this or stream it or something, but at least one of us is going to be there and get some live eyeballs on it. So Alex, any final thoughts before we head out for the day?
No, hope the scrimmage is good tomorrow. Hope nobody gets hurt, most importantly.
Yes.
And just Chargers fans show up at the scrimmage, let the presence be felt, I guess, there. And excited to see how some of these position battles play out in the last real game experience prior to that first preseason game on Saturday.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's sold out. I had to ask somebody else for tickets because they weren't able to go. It's a sold out event. It was, I think, the Sunday or last Sunday or whatever it was too. So it'll be packed. And I can't wait to see what it's like in the first real game atmosphere that we can give these guys.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Excited to hear how everything pans out. And, appreciate you guys tuning in today. So we had a good turnout again on Saturday. Appreciate all the comments, all the chats. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get to a little bit more questions. I know there were a few asked that we were not able to get to because it was just a lot of stuff we had to cover. So appreciate all that. Right on time, right on cue, right at the buzzer. Mama Shoon with the super sticker. Man. Fantastic timing there. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks everyone for the chat. As always, if you're listening to this, leave a rating or a review. We always appreciate that. So, Bull fam, let's ride.